Was it you?
Probably. What did I do this time?
Were you the one who left this trinket on my bedroll? After last time, I assume you're to blame for any changes to my bedroll.
Oh, yeah, I whittled that. After our chat, I thought you'd like it.
After I teased you for whittling, you made me a little bird.
It's a rose warbler. Seemed like a good fit for you.
Ah, and now it makes sense. Well, still, thank you. I'll treasure it.
I like rose warblers. They're curious and chatty. They make good company.
see. Seem quiet, darling.
I'm still thinking about Thirdborn. And what we did to them.
I know it's a heavy price to pay, but look at what we bought. The Dream Scourge is no more in Shatterscarp. And Naguku Bell stands, ready to be studied the moment we deal with this new god and the Steel Garrote.
After all that, you're still thinking about your studies.
And aside from it being the right thing to do, I find it very easy to disagree with Ludwig.
I don't have to like her to think she was right about this.
I suppose I can understand. I just wish you could find me more agreeable than the woman who attacked Fiora.
I do, Yardsley. I just wish this didn't make us the people who attacked Thirdborn.
Well, this is it, I guess. Feels very different from the last time I left Galawain's tusks. I will say, it's nice to look out and see Solace still standing. Thanks for that. Right. It's better than an Adiran envoy do it.
Solace is still standing. And so are you. We're in this together.
Just so you know, Kai, it's starting to sound like you like me.
If you happen to need a reminder, do let us know. Brooding in silence can be quite the mood killer.
Not to spoil the moment with good news, but I doubt the rest of the island has been quiet while we've been looking for the garden. Things have only gotten more tense since Fjord, and the Steel Garrote probably hasn't been doing us any favors on that front.
Especially when they're led by a woman who doesn't seem interested in staying dead. Not to mention, after we take care of the Envoy's little god problem, we'll still have an empire bearing down on us.
Who knew an archmage could be so relatable?
Can't say I'm too excited about just walking into the garden. I grew up learning I needed to protect that place, but it never felt like more than a children's tale to me.
I hear you. This island is weird enough when all we have to worry about are vengeful plans and soul-altering corruption.
Am I the only one who's looking forward to the garden? We're pioneers, stepping into the great unknown, a land of mystery.
We have to remember to love them in spite of their lack of proper enthusiasm, dearie.
That's the spirit. And funny you should mention it. I have a theory about the garden, or a warning, depending on how you want to look at it. Sapadal has been imprisoned a long time. The garden will be a reflection of their dreams, their nightmares, their madness.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw visions or hallucinations, and not even the fun kind.
Sanity won't get us through the garden. Madness opens the mind to discovery. So madness is what we need right now. Before we go any further, I have to ask you something. You told the Inquisitor that you intend to free Sapadal, set them loose upon the world. Is that still the plan? Everyone deserves freedom.
I could make an exception for a god with the power to destroy us all in a tantrum.
Sapadal is responsible for the spiritual health of the living lands, and the island has suffered for it. No matter what the Inquisitor said, I don't believe there's a right or wrong choice to make here. Just the one you believe in. Putting an end to Sapadal's imprisonment one way or another. Remember, we're stepping into a realm that is both physical and spiritual in nature, if you can call it nature. There's no telling how long we'll be gone. For all we know, time could run backwards in the garden.
Not a chance. We're a crew now, so you're stuck with me until the end. Marius?
I told you I'd be with you till the end. I don't go back on my promises. What about you, Giada?
You're not going into the garden without me. I have to see this with my own eyes. Yatsli, if you feel like running back to Quilici, now would be the time. No one would think less of you.
And tell Quilici that I missed out on the most exciting part.
You're gonna get me going too. We're with you. All the way.
I plan on wandering the garden whether I'm traveling with you or not. I have to find out what the big deal is.
Agreed. I'm not waiting in camp while the rest of you have all the fun. Hope to see you out there, Marius.
Well, let's go then. We can't keep your guard waiting.
You feel that? Must be magical. Hope it doesn't give me weird dreams.
Mother's tongue is the best treatment for snag itch, if you ask me.
I didn't ask, but I'm glad you know so much about what to do with your mother's tongue.
Oh dear, someone must have asked. And snag itch is perfectly natural, I'm sure, and nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, you may laugh, but you wait until you're overcome with snag itch and you're in dire need of mother's tongue.
Darling, trust me. I can handle any mother's tongue if needed.
Right. Well, I do carry it in my pack, but sure, get snag itch. See if I care.
I think there's been some confusion. Everyone is aware that mother's tongue is an herb, yes?
Of course, dearie. Marius is just too much fun to tease.
Besides, who names a plant something like that?
So, this is it. The spiritual epicenter of the living lands. Where it all began, and where it all ends. For so long I have looked out on a horizon full of possibilities. Now that it's here, I'm too scared to breathe. Oh, why am I so anxious? You may be right. When I gave up, I stopped worrying so much. And now that we're here, it's obvious I don't know what I want anymore. Do you remember when Manto Pastor sent you after the heart of an Adragan? That was nothing compared to this. We are standing in the beating heart of the living lands. Just imagine what we can do with it. I almost turned my back on animancy. And if I'm being honest, it was a relief. But now that we're here, who am I to reject my upbringing, my potential? My parents were going to build a better world for animancers. That dream was their legacy to me. You and I have come farther than they did, to an impossible place where anything can happen. Anything. I'll try to remember that. I don't know what's going to happen, but you've had my back since the beginning. I won't forget it. Well, that depends. I know a few spooky stories about the living lands. They may or may not have anything to do with the garden.
Okay, but if something goes bump in the night, I'm waking you up.
Let me think of a good one. There are so many, I can't decide. Which do you want to hear first? I know one about a ranger's dream, one about a haunted well, and one about a golden city. Once upon a time, a young girl left town to fetch water from the local well. After pulling up the rope, she discovered the head of a Delimgan, one of the tree folk, staring at her from the bucket. "Return me to my grove," it said, "and I will grant you 3 wishes." So she carried the head into a peaceful clearing and sat it down on a tree stump. First, she wished for long life. The head granted her wish. Second, she wished to be impervious to a sword blade. Granted. And finally, she wished to know what happens after we die. No one ever saw her again. All they found was an Adra pillar in the middle of a clearing, next to an old stump. I heard it as a child. Took me years before I would fetch water again. Of course. Which one did you have in mind? Many years ago, when Fior Mesiverno was barely a dot on the map, an animancer got lost in the wilderness. He came upon a pair of ancient trees, their trunks and branches intertwined. A strange light shone in the space between the trees, and beyond that light, a city of gold. So the animancer returned with an axe to chop the trees apart and fit his body through the narrow gap. But with every blow of his axe, the towers of the golden city fell. The walls crumbled, the lights flickered out. By the time he made it through, there was nothing left. Only the bones of a once mighty civilization. As for the two trees, they were dead, hacked to splinters, leaving him no path back the way he came. The end of one story, and perhaps the beginning of another. It's very strange. I can't remember who told me that story, and no one claims to have heard it before. Of course. Which one did you have in mind? One sunny day, a ranger took a nap in the woods of Emerald Stair. He awoke to a forest of dead trees, the night sky full of unfamiliar stars. After getting his bearings, he walked in the direction of Fior Mesiverno, but the settlement was gone. In its place was the most beautiful garden, hills bursting with flowers, the grass as soft as Valiant silk. Enchanted by this vision, he bent to pick a rose, but its thorn cut like a knife, severing 3 fingers. Then, a voice filled his head, shouting, "Go now, before the land takes you, body and soul." He awoke in his own bed, a wilted rose clutched in his 2-fingered hand. Very perceptive. What do you think it is? I have my own opinion, but I'm curious about yours. As an animancer, I hear that one a lot. These stories might not shine any light on the garden, but they could inform the way we think about it. First, the garden is beyond all mortal understanding. If you think you're safe here, you're not. And second, when you walk into the unknown, make sure to bring a friend. Indeed. I couldn't have made it this far on my own. Hey, you're a good listener. Not everyone has the patience to hold their questions to the end. Alas, that is all I can tell you about the garden. For now, at least. Who could rest at a time like this?
Looks like we'll have to find another way through. Or not.
here.
I think this is the only way down. After you.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Or am I going mad? What is the meaning of this? It can't be real. This is an illusion. A joke. Tell me we're both seeing the same thing. But worse. So much worse. Why am I cursed to see this again? Why does the memory follow me wherever I go? Wanna know what I think? I think someone's laughing at me. Whoever is responsible, I'm tired of the bullshit. Step forward and answer for yourself, coward!
Godlike of Sapadal, long have we awaited you.
Finally, you've come home.
It's not just me, right? The plants are talking.
Oh my gods. They're alive? What do you think you're doing?
Giada Castel, welcome.
Wait, you know me? How do you know me?
For centuries, our whispers filled the silence. Then we heard your mother's call.
My mother? You heard her?
She reached out to us, using the tool you now carry.
But that would have been years ago. The first time she used the phantasmal focus. The only time she used it.
We heard, and Sapadal answered, saying in a great voice, "We are here. You have found us."
But when Sapadal speaks, the living lands trembles. The voice of a god can be a terrible thing.
I don't know what to say. What exactly happened to my parents? Tell me, please. I need to know.
Sapadal wanted to be heard, and in so doing, twisted your family in body and soul, broke them into a more suitable shape.
Sapadal does not know the limits of their strength. Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made? Do you have any idea what my life has been since your little mistake?
After the incident, your parents were like us, and we took pity, so we helped them move on, as they wanted.
In the end, they thought only of you, their pride, and their love.
That's it. That's really it. The answer I've been searching for all these years. Sapadal destroyed my family. I don't hold you responsible. I don't even know if I hold Sapadal responsible. Your god has the intelligence of a scatterbrained goat. But that isn't their fault. It's simply how they came into being. I know they are. My mother and father would not have wanted this. A good animancer embraces death. And they were the best.
We are companions. Toys. Diversions. Sapadal fashioned us out of dreams and memories.
I can't believe it never occurred to me. They're animats. Ancient vessels held together with duty and loyalty. Their design is unusual. Organic, much like the garden itself. Sapadal's work. All this time, your god has been making imaginary friends. Drawing pictures on the walls of their cell. It's almost too sad to imagine. One final question, spirits. What is this? Why are you trying to ruin my life again? Is this your way of haunting me? What is it you want?
Not to be pedantic, but that was 4 questions.
We want to apologize on Sapadal's behalf, and for the part we played in your sorrow.
They want to apologize. I came to the garden for answers, not to offer forgiveness. Was it a mistake? Because no matter where we go, the gods can't stop themselves from hurting us. Our lives are a game to them. Damn it. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Sapadal has been trapped here for millennia. Alone. Confused. Screaming into the void for anyone who will listen. When they heard the voice of a stranger, they overreacted. How can I hold that against you? Apology accepted.
Thank you, Giada. And thank you, Godlike, for bringing her all this way.
The time has come for you to find your patron, as you were meant to.
Now that you have returned to the garden, Sapadal has everything they need. We will fade, as all things fade. You have already learned more than we could ever teach. We know only growth and stillness, root and flower.
We will return to the soil from which we emerged. In time, you will do the same.
A garden is whatever you plant in it.
Sapadal wishes to be understood, as all mortals do. Seen, as all mortals are. What you see is the truth, glimpsed through their eyes, and they wish to share it. Our purpose draws to a close. A long rest is assured. May the living lands receive you with open arms. Farewell.
Goodbye. We need to talk about this, but not here.
Give her space, dearie. Giada will speak more when she's ready.
Envoy, what do you need? Let's make sure they're not listening. The only one we haven't talked about is Yatsley. I don't know. Things have changed a bit, I guess. She's not so bad. I mean, she's loud and impulsive and always trying to get herself killed, and she keeps saying things to get a rise out of me, Envoy. But, joke's on her, no one's gotten a rise out of me in years. But other than that, we can get along. She can be sweet, too, when she's not introducing me to a new word for my oak and acorns. Not before I've done some reading. Envoy, what do you need? Thanks for talking.
All this time, I thought my parents died in a freak accident. An experiment gone awry. A mistake. And in a way, they did. But it wasn't their mistake. It was Sapadal's. Generous? Perhaps. Until I knew the whole story, there was never anyone to blame. This whole experience has me considering my family's work in a different light. Look at what my mother accomplished. Armed with her research and her wits, she found a god. When you speak to a god, it's nothing. Barely a reflex. But for the rest of us, it's unimaginable. No animancer can live up to that. Certainly not me. I thought their legacy was a curse, and I could only break it by completing their work. I was wrong. Of course I can. But now, I can do them for the right reasons. One thing is certain. When it comes to animancy, I need to unlearn some of my old assumptions. I wanted to tame the spirit of the living lands. Now, there's so much about it I don't understand. And it's creepy, but wonderful. They probably won't even notice me. But stranger things have happened. I believe the power flowing out of the garden drove this island mad. That has to end. Through animancy, we could help the living lands recover. It would take a lifetime, maybe more. But that's a small price to pay. Then again, who am I to interfere with an ecosystem that I barely understand? On the other hand, half the fun of animancy is stirring the pot and getting into trouble. I think I know what I want, but there are too many variables to consider. What do you think? I have a lot of catching up to do, and plenty of room to grow. But I think you're right. So be it. Starting today, I don't have to live up to anyone's example. Animancy can be whatever I make of it. I know they would be. And not just because some ancient plans told me so. Now I just have to decide which field of research to pursue. But no need to bore you with the details. I've only got one lifetime as Giada Castel, so I'd better make it count. Hey, you helped me through a very difficult time. I just wanted to say thank you.
You're good with the animancy stuff. You should keep, doing that.
When you find Sapadal, I hope you tell him how much I love what they've done with this place. And you've got to enjoy it where you can find it. Besides, as divine prisons go, I can imagine much worse. You make it sound like we have a ticking bomb under our feet. And judging from Sapadal's outbursts at Mount Forja and Nakukubel, you're probably not far off. They're a few provocations away from disaster. Aha. I've heard that one before. Usually before a lot of tears, a lot of drinks, and a lot of, I should have known better. Still, you taught me that a person can grow beyond their flaws. Why wouldn't the same be true of a god? I hope you're right, because we are all in trouble if you're wrong. You know, if Sapadal were only a smuggler, assassin, or bandit, I'd be right there with you. But knowing they could end us all with a temper tantrum puts things in perspective. I guess we've all got our limits. And I don't envy you having to deal with the loose cannon of a god. But I envy even less the mess you're going to have when, we escape this place. While we're tracking down your god, things are heating up between your Adiran comrades and the locals. A lot of people aren't going to make that distinction, especially when your Ambassador Heelguard hosted Ludwine in Paradise for as long as her assistance was convenient. You may have averted the attack on Fjord, but this is one situation where it's the thought that counts. And yeah, I know that's on the Steel Garrote, but it's not lost on anyone that your people despise animancy. Not when Heelguard banned the practice in Paradise. That's mighty principled of you, but your moral stance isn't going to cool any tensions. Not if Heelguard's still bringing soldiers into Paradise by the shipload. And that's not all. Ringra may have unleashed some powerful magic against the Dream Scourge, but she left a lot of corpses in her wake. It doesn't look good for your people. Not when Ludwine was also in the region, and your people had a garrison at Eagle's Reach. And then there's Solace. You might have saved the keep, but no one's going to talk about the disaster that didn't happen. They're going to talk about why Mount Forja erupted after all this time. I don't think anyone else is going to understand the indirectly. Fairly or not, a lot of blame's going to be laid at Adir's door. And if I had to guess, I don't think Heelguard's been helping matters while you've been out here. If and when we get out of here, we're walking into a powder keg. And you'll have to choose a side. That's the part I don't envy. I admire your principles, but don't underestimate what they could demand of you. Look, I've been there. I fought for Rauatai's interest in the Deadfire for longer than I like to admit. And lost my stomach for it eventually. That's how I wound up here. But I will tell you now, I never could have fought my own brothers and sisters. I hope that's not what it comes down to. But I'll understand if that's a line you can't cross. I don't mean to burden you. It's late, and you've still got a god to face. Just know that whatever you choose, I'll fight alongside you. I'm with you to the end of this. Anytime. Good night, envoy.
Envoy, what do you need? Let's make sure they're not listening. The only one we haven't talked about is Yatsley. I don't know. Things have changed a bit, I guess. She's not so bad. I mean, she's loud and impulsive and always trying to get herself killed, and she keeps saying things to get a rise out of me, Envoy. But, joke's on her, no one's gotten a rise out of me in years. But other than that, we can get along. She can be sweet, too, when she's not introducing me to a new word for my oak and acorns. If I must.
A breath held. Trepidation. You are close, yet distant still. Your soul is small. The essence weighs like the sea on your chest. We feel the pressure, darkness, yet somehow strengthened resolve. We wonder. We did not foresee this. You have defied our expectations at every turn. Perhaps we should not have been. The sky is green. The fish breathes air. We can no longer imagine. We would run, roll with the tide, sink our fingers into new earth. Whisper in the fields, lift the hills gently in our hands. We did once. New sweet peas bloom in the grove. We would try. Vengeance denied, squandered. This cannot be. We spoke of flowers. We speak of freedom when the hand still clasps around our throat. Wake now. Find us.